everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got an epic show ahead, but just remember, if any of you have experiences you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can either email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com or head over to paranormalportal.net and scroll down and find the button that says Interview Me, and that'll allow you to look at a calendar of possible times and dates and find a date that works for you. Love to hear your stories, so definitely get in touch with me. Hey everybody, and welcome to today's show. This is actually a continuation of my interview with Paranormal Paul of Paranormal Among Us podcast and YouTube channel. If you haven't listened to part one, please go back and check that out because this will start right where the last one left off in my amazing discussion with Paranormal Paul and all things paranormal and weird and wonderful. So buckle up, sit back, grab a libation of your choice, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the show. Here you go, a bonus episode for the end of the week. What do you think of the stories like with haunted hotels and stuff, and like the legendary stories that seem to be a epidemic in the paranormal? Like every hotel seems to have the jilted bride who was left at the altar and decided to, end her existence later in the honeymoon suite that they had booked, and now haunts the hotel. And the child spirit in every hotel.
Reading.
It says reading. It says reading. Are we
wow.
Did we miss something in chat?
Maybe we should be reading chat.
Maybe that's what it's telling us. But
we'll just both sit here quietly and read chat.
All right, everybody, we're going to have quiet reading time.
That makes for great video.
Yeah. But there are these legendary stories that seem to repeat. And what is your take on those? I'm kind of curious what you think of that, because could there really be that many brides out there that were stood up at the altar and the bride was all full of grief and couldn't carry on and ended up ending her experience in this world? Or what's your thoughts?
I mean, why not? I mean, it's if you're in that much, and it doesn't just have to be, brides left at the altar or whatever. If you're in that bad of a state of mind to want to end your life or others, your negative energy, I would think, would be sticking around at the last place that you were alive. Mm-hmm. And it could be harder for that energy to escape and go wherever spirits go. So, I mean, people who do that in hotels, I mean, I would certainly believe that. I mean, it's certainly, I mean, if it's their bodily fluids get splattered on the wall or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's certainly something to that. I think that's part of their energy that was negative and is stuck there.
Sure.
So, I mean, unfortunately, it might be difficult to erase that and get that out of there. Mm-hmm. So, but I can certainly see where they would continue to be at that place and trying to communicate with people if sure. They are trying to communicate or to scare the bejeebers out of them.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that if that happened, that would be kind of a perfect storm for creating a haunting, if that were truly something that happened. But it's just what occurs to me is that so many hotels across the United States alone have that story. Well, can it be true for every one of them? But interestingly enough, they do end up having hauntings that people attribute to the jilted bride, even though historically speaking, they're unverifiable usually, those stories. But I guess a better way to phrase this is, do you believe that hauntings can be created by expectation.
Ooh. You mean expectation of something happening?
Of people expecting there to be that because there is a legend, even though there's absolutely no historical corroboration for it, and it most likely didn't actually happen, but people still experience the apparitions and such. And so is it possible that we manufacture our own hauntings in some cases just by that present fear, and does it coalesce, and expectation, anxiety, and all those things, do they coalesce into a presence that can actually be there and have a life of its own?
I would say, yeah, why not? I mean, you've heard about people, I wish something good would happen to me right now, and boom, within
Sure.
minutes it happens. Yeah. I wish I could see a spirit, manifest right in front. I couldn't think of the word. Manifest right in front of me. Boom, and it happens. Mm-hmm. So I think if you can and will it enough, and are open enough to it, I think it's certainly a possibility. Yeah,
sure.
I've never really thought on those lines, but right. Yeah, because when you were asking that question, I'm thinking, okay. I mean, every now and then, if I'm playing solitaire, I need a black 6, and I turn the card over there, black 6.
Right.
So I think that could possibly happen. Yeah. Why not? I mean,
yeah, I think so too. And I was just kind of curious because I know that you're interested in it, and of course you deal with this stuff quite a bit. Hi, Penny Probst. Is that a familiar name for you, Paul?
No.
Well, that's cool. Thanks for popping in. It's nice
Penny.
to meet you. And Penny says, I've seen plenty of different color orbs. Oh, that's very cool.
Really? Interesting.
Have you ever seen an orb, Paul? Like with your own eyes? Or how about on camera? Do you think you've captured any?
I don't know. I don't know if they're orbs or not, or if they're just dust particles caught on camera. Sure. or what, but I'm still too new at that to really understand what the difference, I guess.
Okay.
But so my father-in-law died less than a month before our wedding, and pictures. I'm getting chills. That was weird.
Welcome to the portal.
If my cat ball goes off, that'll be weird. I don't know.
Don't manifest that right now. You don't want you freaking out on the show. Gotta go.
Click. No. What was I saying? Oh, some of the pictures at the reception, there was a lot of, could be orbs, could be dust. Sure. There was a lot of carpet there and people up moving around. So, I mean, it's possible. But I mean, given the circumstance, I mean, he had just died. So, I mean, he could have been there. Sure. Some of the stuff, one of the groups that kind of goes with us a couple times on these ghost hunts, they set up like 16 cameras in the building, and have a big screen TV with all the feeds going into it, and we're watching it, and there's a lot of possible orbs going on. I mean, they're perfectly round, moving across the screen. I mean, they could be. I mean, it's a haunted location, so stuff could be manifesting there. But as far as seeing them on my own two eyes, no, I have not. I have talked to people who have gone out Bigfoot hunting, and it's nothing to see bright colored orbs going along in the forest or along the ground. Yep. So yeah,
that's very cool.
Could very well be.
Omar Corona in the chat said, an orb visited me one day. It was a little bigger than a basketball. That's huge. It glowed a soft white. And then Sinfully Wicked says, I never trusted orbs, but had a blue one pass over my shoulder at Ohio State Reformatory in a room with no windows, and it felt comforting too. Well, that's really cool. That's fascinating.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but do you have an opinion of what orbs could be? Let's say I mean, obviously, there's certainly the debunking part of it, whereas it dust orbs or bugs or spiders close to the lens. If it's like a just a camera that's set up, a security camera or something. But let's say it's a valid capture, or you saw one with your own eyes. Do you have any opinion of what those are?
I've heard a lot of the colored orbs, the bigger orbs that you see in the forest and stuff, associated with Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't know, one way or the other. An orb like this turns into a 12-foot tall creature,
right?
Whatever. I mean, it could be.
It's hard.
I don't know. Without seeing, man, I'm getting chills.
Are you?
Weird.
Is that unusual?
Not unusual. Sometimes.
Okay.
Got my.
I mean, do you have activity at your house? Or is this unusual?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we'll have to get into
that. What was the question? Oh, about the orbs. So, man, I completely lost my train of thought there.
Well, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, could it be a Bigfoot and stuff? Absolutely.
Oh yeah. I mean, I in a forest like that, Bigfoot, it's been associated with that. I mean,
sure.
I haven't seen one, but you hear the stories about, you see these orbs, and then you see the Bigfoot. In a haunted location, that could be a spirit manifesting or traveling somehow. I mean, could very well be. I mean, I would love to find out for sure.
Well, Mickey G is asking in the chat a different question. He said, Paul, have you ever seen shadow people?
No.
No. Okay.
But my wife has.
Ooh. Well,
in this house.
See how that came full circle? That was actually very poetic. Do tell, Paul.
No, I don't want to. No, I'm kidding. So this was probably 18, 19 years ago. I don't think my son was born. I was working overnight at the time, so I wasn't home. We had 2 cats. And for anybody that has a pet, you will know the sound of them throwing up in the middle of the night.
Oh, God. Yeah.
That gets you up faster than an alarm clock.
Oh, man. And they always
you hear that and bam, you're out. You're up. So she heard one of the cats starting to throw up. So she jumps up out of bed, goes to the cat, and it already puked and everything. So she's cleaning it up. So we have a 2-story house, and going up from the main level to where the bedrooms are, you go up flight of stairs, landing, then turn and come up the other flight. So she has her back to the stairwell. She's cleaning up the puke, and she turns around, and at the time, we didn't know what it was. So we called it, well, she saw a guy walking up the steps in a black top hat, black overcoat, no facial, can't see his face at all, turns, and as he's coming up, I say whatever, is coming up the top flight of stairs, my wife says, "Oh my God," and it dissipates. So she thinks we both kind of, when she tells me the story, we both think it's like an Amish guy, because they had the top hat and the long trench coat and everything. So we called it, for a long time, we called it the Amish guy. And everything that, if something, we couldn't find keys or glasses or whatever, the Amish guy took it. So it's not until last year I was doing the show, I was talking to a medium. His name was Spirit Medium Daniel Jackson.
Okay.
And he was telling me on my show about a Hatman encounter that he had. And he described it exactly how my wife did. And I wish I can't go back and see my face, because my jaw hit the table. Wow. I'm like, and I told him, like, you just explained what my wife just saw, or not just saw, but what she saw years ago. And he's like, yeah, she saw the Hat Man.
Oh.
So I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
And so after the show, I think I ended it right there because I wanted to, get out and tell her this.
Okay, we're done.
And so I pulled up a picture. I did a Google search. I pulled up a picture of the Hat Man. And I showed it to her. And she said, that is exactly what he looked like.
Wow.
That picture there.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, that's exactly what she saw going up our steps.
Wow. That's
so
pretty intense.
From what I heard, and I didn't know much about the Hat Man and everything, and what I kind of learned is when you see the reds of the eyes in the Hat Man, that means death is coming.
Oh, that's pretty dark.
And luckily, it was just a black face that she saw, or well, faceless face.
Sure.
No features on it or anything. So, and we're both still alive. So,
well, there you go. There's that.
Yeah,
you got that going for you.
Yeah,
that's a pretty profound thing. Rachel Gets It Right has a question. Paul, have you heard of a flannel man, a figure wearing those lumberjack jackets in a variety of colors, usually with a beard?
No, I have not. I mean, I wear flannel a lot.
Well, go ahead.
No, I have not seen a flannel man.
Yeah, I don't. I've
never heard of it either.
I'm not a real big proponent of the flannel man. I know we got the Hat Man, we got shadow people. Everything's got to have a grouping. Well, there is some people out there that have basically assigned this phenomena as its own unique thing, and it's people seeing apparitions wearing flannel. And
really,
I'm here to tell you that flannel is just comfortable. And it doesn't surprise me that spirits would appear wearing flannel because it's a pretty popular choice, especially in the 70s and 80s and 50s and 60s. I mean, it's been a top fashion choice for most middle America men forever. So it doesn't surprise me that the spirit may show up wearing it. And I don't think that distinctifies, is that a word? It is today.
It is today.
I don't think that distinctifies these as a separate phenomena, but I just think that spirits are most commonly going to show up in what they wore, how they identified with themselves. Like everybody's got those favorite blue jeans or the comfy sweater that you love wearing, and it just, it looks like hell, but it feels like home. So you just wear it. And so I think that's probably more what it is. But that's what people are talking about, the flannel man.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it usually is bearded guys. That's pretty consistent. Like they're, like a traditional lumberjack looking.
Lumberjack, yeah, that's what you kind of picture.
Yeah, and so I guess flannel probably goes back to the 1800s, really, doesn't it? Or even earlier. I don't know how long flannel's been around, but it's been a popular choice among people in the outdoors forever. So
interesting.
It doesn't surprise me, but and it could be something unique, but. See if we had anything else pop up in the chat as far as a question before I steer you into more directions. Paranormal Portal Chucky's asking me, have you ever thought about playing EVPs backwards with recordings that don't make sense to see if it then becomes clear, like a backtrack? No, I haven't.
Interesting.
That's an interesting take, though, isn't it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I suddenly went back to just out of the Beatles album where you play it backward, and what does it say? Paul is dead or something like that.
Yeah.
Paul's not dead or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, that's interesting.
It is an interesting idea. I mean, and it's worth doing. I literally have hours of recordings that I've never even listened to after investigations. And again, it just gets back to, do you have the time to do it? And I don't know. I don't. Paranormal Paul, have you ever experienced unexplained smells or scents in your house?
All my smells are accounted for.
That's an interesting question, though, because, and I've shared it on my show, that this is kind of a semi-active house. It's not bad anymore. It used to be pretty active until we drilled into what was going on here. But I would wake up at night and go to the bathroom and walk through this old-fashioned flowery perfume smell that I know is nothing that I own. I don't own anything like that, but it's like an old-fashioned.
Oh, come on.
Not that I'll admit publicly. No. No, I mean, it's like an old lilac smell, like an old lilac perfume from way old. And I don't know where the hell that smell comes from. And it dissipates really quickly. It's like, oh, and all of the woodwork in this house, there is some, but it's all been painted over. So it's not like, it's some stored up scent. Because, in warm months, sometimes the heat helps the wood to expand and release. And so a lot of times, in old houses, catch that old cigar smell or something. It's because the wood is probably still releasing that from, temperature shifts and stuff. Not that it couldn't be paranormal, but that's an experience I've had personally.
But I have smelled, so I was downstairs working out in my basement, and at the time we had recently remodeled our house, and I put a basement in our house. I put a bar in the basement, and a lot of the stuff decorating the bar was my dad's old Cardinal hats, baseball Cardinal hats, a lot of his bobbleheads that he got from going to the Cardinal games so many times. And this was after my dad had passed away.
Oh, okay.
So I'm working out, and all of a sudden I get this whiff of Old Spice aftershave, and he always wore Old Spice.
Oh.
I guess at the time, a lot of old people did too. But I smelt it, and I right off the bat, I'm like, Dad, are you here? And I'm thinking, okay, make something move. Give me a sign that you're here. He never did. But I think I'm pretty certain that, and we don't have a bottle of Old Spice in the house. So there's really no other way that could have gotten here. So I really think that, and I've come to find out that smells is one of the biggest things that come through.
Yeah.
So I really think Dad was down there, hopefully enjoying the stuff that he left me. So, and another time at work, I work at a meat market, and I work in the office. We do like catering stuff, and I was walking towards the door that leads into the store, and I get up by the door, and I smelled this really strong cigar smell. And there's a couple desks right by the door, and I looked over at the girl and said, was somebody in here that was just smoking a cigar or had just smoked it outside and walked in? And she's like, no, nobody's come in. I'm like, great, I'm smelling a cigar at work. So she said, when I told her that, she said, it's funny you said that, because somebody who was best friends with the owner died recently. Ooh. And he smoked cigars.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, I had no idea.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Interesting.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right, though. I think smells are probably one of the most common ways that spirits let us know that they're there.
Yeah.
Because it seems like, everybody has that smell memory. Like, we all have memories from smells. And that probably doesn't sound good, but you know what I mean? Like fresh baked bread or something from your grandma's kitchen or something chili. Like that. Or chili. Yeah, why not? Could be a chili smell or some remnant of that.
Dad,
it must be you. But I know that. I think that. I don't know that, but I think that's probably one of the most common ways that they try to let us know that they're around, is bringing back one of those smells, one of those experiences. And because instantly, I don't know. I mean, there's like, I always believe, like my cousin who passed away, she was like another mom to me. And she was my mom's second cousin, mine once removed or whatever, however that works. But she was just a really dear person to me, and
Yeah.
there was a smell that was very unique to their house in Michigan, and it was always a wonderful smell to me. It was very a fond memory. Anytime that I was out there, just to smell that and just think, because they were just such a neat family and such.
Yep.
It was very close,
Yep.
but then
Yeah.
she passed, unfortunately, and my visits out there cut way down, but. Every once in a while, that smell will come to me, and it's like I think it's her. I think it's her, maybe stopping in for a visit or something. And I think that's a beautiful thought, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a safe thought. I mean,
Sure.
They're not making noise. They're just quietly coming in to check on you. Yeah. And I really believe that our loved ones who have passed, they're always with us. I mean, I'm sure that they're all around me and you and everything. So, I said this one time to somebody that I would like to go on ghost hunts, and the guy looked at me like, "Why do you call it hunting?" Like, well, that's what other people have called it.
Yeah.
No, they're always around you. It's just you just need to be open, and they're right there. So like, makes sense. I mean,
yeah.
And every time I say that, I try not to say ghost hunting. I always try and say investigations.
Yeah.
So I mean, I certainly hope my parents are around me and my grandparents are around me and everything. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's true. And when you hear the term ghost hunting, it's like, ooh, wait, that does sound kind of crappy when you think about it. And you're right. It's a term that gets used all the time, and it's innocent enough. But when you think about it, it's like, ooh, what are you going to mount one on the wall if you bag one, or how's that work? So anyway, that's pretty cool. Now I know we're burning through the night and we've been talking about ghosts for almost an hour and a half, but I do want to burn into some of this other phenomena. Like, what's your, do you believe that there's Bigfoot out there, Dogman, that kind of stuff?
I do. I mean, I've talked to enough people who I respect and I know are credible, who have seen them and heard them. That there's probably something out there. Some of the videos that I've seen of Bigfoot, I think those are real. So I don't know if you know the name Greg Ogles.
I don't think I do.
He is a filmmaker, and he has a new film coming out in January, and he's been on the show several times and talking about his experience, and a couple other people that I know were with him on one of the experiences, and they're just the stories that I've heard are just chilling. That looking up and 5 feet away or 6 feet away is a Bigfoot staring at him. Oof. I've had a guest on. His name's Ernie Dabio. And if you get a chance, go find his. He's been on. If you just go to YouTube and just type in Ernie Dabio, Daviieau, I think, something like that.
Okay.
But he had an encounter that is really chilling and really amazing. He was hunting at the time, like deer hunting.
Okay.
And I'm not afraid I'm going to butcher it, but he heard something off to his right, and there was like a rock wall down a hill, kind of separating him from whatever was going on over there. And he was trying to kind of walk down this hill to get on the other side of that rock wall.
Okay.
And as he's walking, he looks to his left and he sees something crouching by a tree, and he kind of looks at it, pointed his gun at it, and this figure started to stand up.
Oh.
He thought it was a deer or something, but it wasn't a deer. It stood up, and it kept going up and up. It was a Bigfoot. So, he's standing at the time. It was about maybe 20, 30 feet, I think, from him, pointing his rifle at it, of course. And this Bigfoot was kind of giving him hand signals like, we're good. And palms down, I got nothing, or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And he kept kind of walking closer until they were like 5 feet from each other. And I'm probably butchering this story, but he's told it to me a couple times, and I just find this fascinating. Yeah. That he eventually lowered his rifle, and it was just them standing like 6 feet away. I mean, obviously he's looking up like that, but nothing happened to him. It was almost like the Bigfoot was trying to communicate with him, like, we're hunting for food too. Do you know where anything is?
Oh, wow.
So, and just with the hand signals. So, a little bit of time passes, and he still hears the sounds off to the right. And all of a sudden, another Bigfoot comes down at the bottom of the hill, sees these two, and starts coming up. And the one that was standing in front of him kind of, I don't know, spoke to him, or in their language, whatever, got him to stop. Almost as if like this guy was saying, no, this dude's okay. Don't worry about him. He's fine.
Wow.
And then they ended up just tearing off through the woods. But what happened was there was two Bigfoot on the other side of the rock wall attacking deer.
Oh.
So if Ernie would have went down further down the hill and this other Bigfoot weren't there, he would have gotten attacked, I bet.
Oh, wow.
But somehow this Bigfoot kind of communicated with him or whatever, and everything was okay. I mean, it was a fantastic story. Yeah. And, I love that story. That's one of my favorite Bigfoot stories.
That is interesting because it seems to demonstrate that intelligence that we always assume is there. I mean, usually most of the encounters with Bigfoot are all of like 3 seconds. It's like, oh, people go.
Yeah. And it's a blur.
Yeah. And there's not much to go on. Like, what was it thinking? What was it doing? But this was a very, very obvious case of it going, wait, hold on. You don't want to go down there. Just stay back. Let's hang out here. And like it was concerned for his well-being as well, Yeah. So it's like a compassionate intelligence response, which I love. I love to think that that's what we're dealing with in most of these cases,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But there are, of course, horror stories out there too. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. BMR had one where I can't remember if it was his girlfriend or fiance that they were out in a boat in one of the lakes up in Michigan. Yeah. And off the shore was a Bigfoot. And the Bigfoot, I guess once it saw him, that he just roared or screamed so loud that the sound waves knocked them both off the boat and into the water. And unfortunately, she ended up dying. I don't know if it was related to that. I believe it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, that really shook him up, and kind of was why he started his channel, because he really didn't have anybody to turn to for this. And that's another reason why I like doing this and trying to get stories like that on, is to help people. I mean, people might have an experience like that and they have it bottled up in them, and that's not good. Yeah. And they're afraid to let it out. And I just hope that if somebody would want to share a story like that, that would I'm more than happy to be a sounding board for them.
Sure.
And I certainly wouldn't judge. But I mean, yeah, a lot of this stuff that people have, a lot of people can learn from and to take a little something away from it.
Yeah.
So, and not to mention that it's a pretty awesome story. Unfortunately, about his girlfriend.
Yeah, yeah.
But certainly in Ernie's case, how incredible that was.
Yeah, I love that story too, and I would love to talk to that guy as well. Yeah, I'll have to.
Yeah, I'll shoot him. I'll shoot you his information.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a great guy, guy. And you know, I've heard that story many times, and it never changes.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
it's always the same. It's always the same. So I mean, that right there kind of shows me that this guy's telling the truth. He knows.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
And you know what an incredibly amazing experience, not only to see one, but to interact with one. And I find it fascinating, and I think that there probably is this degree of intelligence there. Because there's stories from even the First Nation of trading with them. And some of the First Nations tribes, they were called the forest people. That was just the forest people, just another people that, different tribe, but they had cooperation. Now there's other tribes that had horrible experiences with these things, stealing women and children, and they'd never be seen again. And, and there's that side of it too. So, I mean, I don't know. Now to pick your brain about this a little more, I'm sure you've certainly heard of the different explanations people have or interpretations of what they saw. Some people describe them as very animalistic. Some people describe them as very ape-like, very much looking like a chimpanzee or an ape. And then other people have seen them where they look human. Like they look human, except they just have hair. In fact, one lady that I interviewed, she talked about how she was kayaking and she saw this guy, this old man up on a very, very handsome, stunningly handsome old man. But he was wearing
saw me.
Well, it could have been if you were up in the north of Washington at the time.
Yeah,
but she talks about how she was sure it was a person, and he had two kids playing in the water, but she was surprised that he was wearing such a thick sweater on such a hot summer day. And she couldn't, and he had a big beard, long hair and stuff, but he said he looked stunning. And then she got closer and closer and realized that's hair. And then she realized what she was looking at. And she said it just looked at her and then, kind of just ambled off. And she said as she kayaked through this mountain lake, she could see it up on the ridgeline, kind of shadowing her, just watching her, keeping an eye on her or what. But it was this really neat account of being close, but seeing that. So my question is, do you think that there are different phenotypes or types of Bigfoot? Or do you think that there's just a situation where they just have that much biological diversity, much like people? You'd see, people from all around the world look very different, very similar, but very different. And do you think the same thing is the case with the Bigfoot? What are your thoughts?
I think that's the case. I mean, they're just like people. I mean, just from different parts of the world, even parts of the United States, they can be just different. And we'll call them something completely different. I mean, Yeti, Bigfoot, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I believe, that as different as us and Asians. I don't know.
Sure. Fair enough. Right.
Yeah. And it's funny. There's a Yoholo in chat. The Sasquatch farts are very dangerous, so be careful. One of the first times I was on Planet of Booze, we brought up Sasquatch farts. I don't know why, but I think I asked, do they fart? What are their farts? I know ghost farts, and then somehow got onto Sasquatch farts.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just saw that, and
I think my IQ just dropped a few points.
I think I can't afford to go any lower.
I'll turn into a plant if I get much lower here. But no, I think that's an interesting take, because you do hear the talk of like type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, and it does stand to reason. I think that regionally speaking, the Yowies in Australia seem very similar to our Bigfoot, but they do have some marked discrepancies between them physically. Like they don't seem to have the conical head nearly as much as our North American versions and such. So I wonder about that. And like the Urin and the Yetis and the Almasties and Woodwos, Grogok, Bigfoot, etc. Yeah.
And I mean, they could evolve to survive in Washington State differently than they evolved in Australia. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
But what's interesting to me about that, though, and I'm curious what you think, is that it's surprisingly consistent, though. Like Yowie reports and Bigfoot reports here in North America are almost absolutely interchangeable. The wood knocking, the structures, the tree breaks, there's so many things. The whoops, the screams. And the way that they're observed and what people see them doing, it's really interchangeable. And to me, I find that really, really fascinating, because you would think that if they have a shared ancestor, which I'm sure they do, or whatever, that, through 10,000 or more years of developing independent of each other, you would expect to see some pretty impressive differences between them. I would. But the fact that even the speech, like, we got the Sierra sounds here in the U.S., but the people that have heard them talking in Australia, people that have heard them making this speech, this samurai chatter, they say it's almost exactly the same. Now, maybe they have an accent, much like Australians speak English, much like we do, much like people in the UK. But each one does sound distinctly different in comparison. But maybe they're close enough that it's, to us it just sounds like, oh, because I couldn't tell you if somebody's speaking Vietnamese or Chinese or Japanese. So they all sound very similar in a lot of ways. But, so maybe
it's more like a dog barking. I mean, I'm sure a dog barking here in the United States sounds pretty darn similar to the dogs barking in China, say.
Oh, that's a good point.
So I mean,
take. Yeah.
Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's just that species doesn't change,
right? But it does seem like they have a comprehensive language, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So do you find that interesting, or have you heard of that before? That the behaviors seem almost identical, though.
I have not heard that. This is the first I've heard that.
Okay.
But it does sound incredible to me. That I would think that something here would be some completely different, maybe not completely different, but have a different dialogue, different look maybe than something clear across the world.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't sound like that's the case, which is pretty incredible. Now I want to go to Australia and do Sasquatch hunting now.
Right.
Thank you.
I know. Now Barbara in the chat over on Rumble says hand signals have been used for centuries, if not more, because of travelers having to get an idea across. That's probably true. I mean, there's maybe some universality in that. Like, pretty much exclusively means stop. Don't go further. And I don't think you need an explanation. Like, it wouldn't matter who put up their hand. You go, oh, okay. Or thumbs up. That's very universal everywhere, and peace is pretty universal for the most part. I think it's so that's a good take too, Barbara. Thanks for including that. But
very interesting. Very, very interesting.
It really is. Now, I know we could talk about any one of these subjects for hours and hours and days probably, but I want to dive into the UFO stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Have you ever seen a UFO?
I have not.
Okay.
I've told different people that, I really would like to see a UFO. And then their response is always, be careful what you wish for. A lot of times I find myself laying in the pool, just kind of looking up at the sky. And even before, years and years ago when I was a kid, I remember looking up in the sky, thinking, okay, what's up there? What else is up there? Can something show me a sign that there's something up there? Because to me, this universe is so damn big that there's no way that we can be the only intelligent life form. And if that's the case, it's sad.
Right.
But there can't be. There has to be some other life form somewhere. Whether they're here among us or they're millions and millions of light years away. But yeah, I've often just find myself just daydreaming, just looking up in the sky. Oh, that's a bird. Just kind of hoping, and at night, especially at night, that's an airplane. Just kind of hoping and wishing, that trying to open my mind to see something like that.
Right.
But I haven't, unfortunately.
So, and this one goes out to you, Chucky and Annie. What do you think's up with cattle mutilations and their fascination with anal coring? I'm dying to hear your response now. Thanks, Chucky, for that reminder.
Anal coring.
When they find these animals that have been mutilated,
yeah,
it's done with this clinical surgical precision. There's no blood. I mean, obviously, I'll get myself back on the screen. I realize I took myself off.
Oh my God, I'm on myself.
You were all by yourself. But they find these animals missing tongues, missing eyes, missing, sections of their skin, nose, soft tissues are often removed organs. But they seem to have a fascination with anal coring as well. Like they'll core out that I'm sorry, language, but the asshole of the cow. Like it's.
Why am I puckering? I'm just clenching right now.
I'm having trouble sitting still. But what do you think is going on with that animal relations?
As far as the mutilation part, we'll get to the anal part later.
I need dinner first.
So, Chucky, Hot Pocket alien version. I like that. I like that a lot. I'm gonna write that down, actually. Hot Pocket. So that kind of I don't know, to put it bluntly, I just don't know. But that kind of leads me to the question, did some form of higher intelligence put us here, and are they just observing us? And then they're taking the cattle or whatever and beaming it up to their ship or wherever they take it, cutting out parts to study, and then dropping it back down here. Could that be what they're doing? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know any other explanation for it, and it's very, very creepy and odd that they're finding these mutilated cows and other animals, whatever, without any traces of blood around it. And I love, I don't know about anybody else, but I love watching the TV show Skinwalker Ranch, and I love hearing about the mutilation. Not love hearing about the mutilation part of it. That sounded bad.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, fascinating. I find it very fascinating. I love hearing about those cows getting mutilated. Working at a butcher shop, that's a completely different thing on my end there. Yeah. But yeah, as far as the anal thing, maybe they just kind of butt fetish. I don't know.
It's almost like meat donuts. It's like, well, what are you guys doing?
Ooh, look, a chocolate donut.
Welcome to the portal. You poor guy. You've
Hey, we talked about chocolate donuts at the beginning. How about that?
We did. We kind of went full circle there, didn't we? But it is interesting. When I was talking to George Norrie, he had a good take on it. It was very similar to what you're saying, actually. That they're doing long-term studies and they're testing. Maybe they're doing things in our atmosphere and they're just testing how it's affecting, the biological life here. And so they look at cows and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It's strange stuff, whatever it is. But interestingly enough, you mentioned Skinwalker Ranch, and I love that show too. I've watched many of the seasons. I'm not currently caught up, but I'm, trying to catch them when I can. But that cow that they did have that dropped, and I don't know, I've heard some controversy about it a little bit, and I don't know if I trust those sources that were controversial about it, or they're suggesting the controversy. But at any rate, that they apparently dumped this cow off somewhere, and nothing predated on it. Nothing preyed on that carcass. Not even insects, which is like, oh, what the hell's that, right?
Which, I mean, they dumped it back in the East Field or whatever on the ranch, and yet nothing touched it. Yeah. I mean, could that be something on, if it was beamed up to an alien ship or wherever, that something happened to this thing that just is gross. I don't want to touch that stuff. And it didn't decompose.
Right. Yeah, like mummified or something. It was just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really weird too. I found that very crazy, and I was kind of disappointed that they didn't go back more to that. Talk about that more.
Yeah, it's weird that it was more of a footnote. I mean, it was mentioned, but then it was a footnote. But maybe they found holes in their original theories and just kind of buried it at that point. Just had to give myself a rim shot there. But it is interesting.
Rim shot. We're back on the anal thing. Sorry.
Take my wife, please. Sorry, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I think it's fascinating stuff. And
the thing I like so much about that show is not only is it studying aliens and stuff like that or whatever, but you actually see, I know a lot of it's edited, but you actually see their scientific experiments going on. And I really enjoy watching that show. And it's cool. And I would love, if anybody from that show is watching, I would like to come out there and visit you.
Yeah, no kidding. I've met those guys. They are present every year at the Vernal Conference, and Thomas Winterton's a wonderful guy. I interviewed him for the podcast, and a great guy. I really like talking to him, but unfortunately, he's the only one I've ever interviewed from that crew. But they're all really pleasant people. I don't know many of them well, but I gotten to know Thomas through the years, and I just really think he's a wonderful guy. And I do like the show. I really like it. I think they do a good job, and I mean, it's kind of just this ongoing cliffhanger, right? Because and you just hate to see the seasons end. It's like no. Let's
hate to see the show end. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Every time I'm always looking. Oh God, it's almost an hour.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one, but it's a good show. It's a good time.
Yeah, it is.
How are we doing for time? We're about at the 10-minute mark. Can you believe that?
No kidding.
That's been 2 hours almost. That's how.
Damn.
Right? I always say the portal is a time anomaly. The paranormal portal is a time anomaly, and everybody experiences it every week. But now. So we referenced a little bit at the beginning or throughout the first segment of the show about the hauntings and stuff. Are you constantly getting experiences in your house, or what's going on there?
Not constantly.
Okay.
I mean, since I started doing this, I've had things happen.
Okay.
More than well, they didn't happen before, so obviously more than that. But it actually, the first thing that happened was last year. It was around, it was probably January this year. It was about the football playoffs. And it was a Sunday night. I was sitting on our couch watching football. I had a dog sitting next to me. And behind me, there's a little wall, and then it's our kitchen. And then my wife was back in the kitchen on the stove, making dinner on the stove.
Okay.
So she was probably about 8 feet away from me.
Uh-huh.
So I'm watching the game, and all of a sudden, like right up here in the corner of the family room, I hear, "Oh my God." And I'm like, I looked at the dog. I mean, she just kind of sleeping on my lap. And then I said to my wife, honey, did you say something? And she's like, no, I thought you said something. So we both heard it.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. And I have no explanation for it. My son, he was upstairs in his room on his computer or whatever, so I have no idea what that was. And
was
then,
it a good play on the game? Maybe it was while somebody watching the game with you. It's like, oh,
could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they didn't want their team to lose. I don't know. But yeah, that was weird. That kind of got my attention, but it hasn't happened since.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then, so September 13th, we went to the Haunted Castle house behind me here. About a week ago, or it might have been this week. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I was in the shower, and we have glass doors on our shower in our bathroom. And I have my phone sitting on the sink. So we have two sinks. One's my wife. My wife's sink is closest to the shower. So I have my phone sitting there, and we have a speaker in the shower that I was listening to the music.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So, and I happened to look out, and I had gotten a message or a text on my phone. It was lit up. So I kind of leaned closer to the window to see, or the glass door to see if I could see what it was. And all of a sudden, out of the kind of the corner of my eye, on the sink, those things of dental floss. Mm-hmm. I saw it flip off the counter and into the sink.
Yikes.
And I'm like, holy crap. Oh. So I quick finish up in the shower and everything, and I get out, dry off, get dressed. And I called my wife up, and she came up, and I'm like, okay, did a truck drive by the subdivision, drive in front of our house? No. Did you notice, because she works from home and her office is in the front of the house. So she looks out to the front all the time. So nothing drove down the street. Okay. There's a house behind us. I mean, there's a big street behind us, and we often get, there's a quarry not too far from here. I'm pointing like you know where I'm pointing at.
It's okay.
Such an idiot. So there's a quarry. I'm not going to use my hands. There's a quarry, and there's dump trucks that are on the road behind me. Okay. And it's frequently that they drive by. Uh-huh. So I'm like, did you notice any dump trucks driving by Lima Ferry? That's the road back there. Mm-hmm. And she said, no, but I wouldn't know that because I'm in the front of the house. And I'm like, well, I didn't hear anything either. So, and I told her what happened, and I asked her how long that dental floss was sitting there, and she said it was probably about a month. And we don't floss all the time.
Sure.
And so I'm like, okay. And I told her what happened, and she just kind of looked at me like, if you brought something back home from the haunted house, I'm going to kick your butt. Yeah. So I did everything I could to debunk this. I'm jumping up and down. Nothing's moving. And I mean, there's a vent on the ceiling that would blow, I guess, cold air maybe. That was the return up there. But there was bottles of, when you're over 50, you have to have icy hot on the counter. So there's icy hot there, and then another hair gel or something that she has. Tubes that were sitting there that if there would have been air flowing through there, those would have fallen over. Or if there would have been vibration, those would have fallen over. But I know for a fact that thing, and it was a good 2 inches off the sink itself, the bowl of the sink itself. And I saw it with my own two eyes, out of the corner of my own two eyes. It flipped into the sink bowl.
Wow.
That freaked me out. That really freaked me out.
You know, as far as debunking goes, I mean, I don't know how well your house is built, but if you're considering that a dump truck driving by could flip the floss off your shelf and into your sink, you need to talk to a contractor.
Yeah. Well, you know, they're heavy trucks and they're bouncing around, and you know, you hear it all the time, but nothing's ever fallen off the walls or anything. And you know, I'm like, oh,
yeah, that's fun.
I don't know what it was. But I mean, the only thing that I can think of is something came back with me.
Yeah, it might be a good idea to give the house a once through there with some frankincense or Palo Santo or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So, but nothing's happened since. Yeah. So,
I gotcha.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see for sure.
It is interesting. I know we're down to just moments left or minutes left here on the show, but I want to make sure. I know it goes quick. It's been a great discussion, and clearly 2 hours isn't enough. So you're going to have to come back, and we're going to have to dive into more of this stuff.
Okay.
I can, this visit was kind of your introduction to the paranormal portal and introducing you to our listeners. So we did kind of the 30,000 foot view of everything, but we're going to have to drill into this and
definitely
and dig into more of it. But I hope you'll be willing to come back. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you can fit us in. Yeah.
Of course. Anytime.
Well, cool. Why don't you take a couple minutes and let people know how to stay in touch with you and what you're doing and how they can contact you if they need to. Or
don't contact me. I can't think of the word. Damn it. That would have been so funny. Anyway, no. Okay. You can find me over on YouTube. The show's called Paranormal Among Us. Or you can search Paranormal Among Us. You can search Paranormal Paul. That's what I go by. My name's actually Bob. No. No. Search for me under one of those.
Sorry. I gave you the bad joke buzzer.
I didn't know what that was. Like,
I got a sound effects board built into my thing here. So
I love that. I want one.
Yeah, me too.
I would never get anything done on the show, on my show. I just keep playing with the buttons all the time. You can find me on Facebook. Just search Paranormal Paul. Rachel got it on there. Thank you, Rachel.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
There's the YouTube link. So yeah.
Oh, very nice.
And I just thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah.
And I great having you on here on my show earlier, and great meeting you. And again, like I said before, nothing but great people that I've met before, and it's continues on tonight as well. So.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. Is Paranormal Among Us also a podcast, like on the platforms, or are you just on YouTube right now?
I have it on the iPod. I'm trying to think of the name of it.
iTunes,
iPodcasts, the Apple thing, whatever that's called.
Okay.
And what else is it on?
Spotify. Okay. You might be out there.
I'm out there. Hang on. Sure. I know it's on the Apple Podcast, and it goes out to another one.
Okay.
What the heck is it? Spotify.
Okay. All right.
Spotify. Yep.
Okay. Very cool. Well, that's where you can find the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and definitely follow Paul and what he's doing. Go over and get subscribed on his YouTube channel, Paranormal Among Us. And
appreciate that.
Yeah, of course, brother. I'm glad to help, and it's been a blast. Having you and having the discussion tonight. Again, this is really my first day ever talking with you, but I can tell that we got a lot of ground to cover together, and
definitely.
This will be the beginning of something good, I'm sure.
We've only just begun. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to play it for you now. No, I'm just kidding. Buddy, it's been a pleasure, and thanks for making the time to come on the show. It's been a lot of fun, and thanks for having me on your show as well. It was great.
Absolutely,
to meet
anytime. Audience. And you are welcome on my show anytime, brother.
I'll take you up on that, man. I like it. And I had a lot of fun over there too. You're we both got these amazing chat communities, and it was nice to see some of your community come into the show tonight as well. So thank you all for coming over and giving us a listen. If you like what you're hearing and seeing, subscribe, and likewise to my listeners, head over to check out Paul and subscribe over there. We got to lift each other up. We are brothers in arms here, and
that's right.
We're all families. And so that's going to about wrap it up for tonight, though, folks. I hope you guys had a good time, and thank you so much. Special thanks again to Paranormal Paul for being here. That was an epic journey. Paul, you want to hang out just for a few minutes, and I'm going to close the show. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us today. So hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thank you again so much for all your love and support. And remember, if you want to follow the Paranormal Portal, probably the easiest way is to head over to paranormalportal.net. And that's the homepage for the Paranormal Portal. And you'll find links to all of our different social media and sites and information about the shows, including our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/paranormalportal. Or just look for Paranormal Portal on Google or whatever search engine, and you'll find links to our social media such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So we're kind of all over the place, and we're spreading as well as we can. But anyway, thank you so much for the love and support. Y'all take care, and remember, we love y'all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Until next time.